Hello everyone, how are you? So there's a huge uproar over the new Bastion. I'm sure you've heard by now, people are calling it the worst patch ever, the Bastion meta, all that sort of stuff. Some tournaments are even banning Bastion. Now, I've seen some seriously OP stuff in my day in video games. Anyway, the question is, does Bastion deserve the outrage? Is Bastion even the most OP thing that's ever existed in the game? Is even the most OP thing that exists in this very patch right now? Instead of theory crafting it, I figured we should go right to the source and watch some of the most recent tournament play. I'll go through just a couple scenarios from the newest games, and these aren't hand-picked or anything, just in order from the most recent that I could find that happened pretty much today. So this is the first one, Team Liquid versus Immortals on Eichenwald. Immortals is defending here, and this is the second round. The first round has no Bastion play at all, so there's nothing to see there. Alright, so we're just going to rewind 1 second, and now nothing before this point is really notable, just some random pickoffs and stuff, no real team fights happen. Now ID will fly up, and he gets face to face with Grim Reality, our Bastion player. Of course, taking an open 1v1 is never something that you're going to win against a Bastion. You have to consider, if this were pre-buff Bastion, would there have been a different result? Probably not. Well, of course, she's going to get torn up, tries to concussive blast, doesn't work on the turret, unfortunately. Of course, to hang on Mercy gets the double res. Very nicely done, but here we have Genji pop Blade, and at the same time, we can't see because the camera's not on him, we also see the Bastion pop tank, and he gets his first shot off, killing Grego playing Lucio. Moving on, if we compare this Genji Blade a little bit to our Bastion ultimate, we get one kill, and we're even going to get another kill right now. Boop, there goes the Lucio with the deflect, and so Shatter got a 2k, the Bastion got a 2k as well, and now he actually got the third. So although the only thing we can do is really compare the kill feeds to each other, the Bastion tank seemed to have a pretty sizable impact on that fight. More than the Genji Dragon Blade, but you have to remember Genji was going for tanks, and the Bastion had the luxury of going for supports. Now this is the very next fight. Notice that Bastion is at 50% right now, 50% ultimate charge as ID comes up, does quite a bit of damage with Mercy boosting. Shatter on Genji is going to get a dash through, take one, take another one as well. So Team Liquid going up 2 kills very early on, but Grim Reality got his ultimate very quickly. So even though he has his ultimate 2 fights in a row, this time it doesn't really matter too much because he doesn't actually have the chance to transform into tank mode. It really has to be used preemptively. It can't be used to salvage a fight. You can't come back with tank mode because of course you're very vulnerable while you're transforming, as we just saw. You just died, no problem. So skipping ahead about 10 seconds, not too bad. We have the defenders all coming back. Genji in the back here. Going to be focusing on the Bastion. Now notice the Bastion was trying to heal through all of that. It didn't really work though. All it did was it fed Genji a whole lot of ultimate charge because Bastion in recon form, even with the heal, is still not that durable, still not that amazing. Better than before, but still a very vulnerable, very normal sort of target. Now the respawns are going to come in very shortly. We're going to stay on the Bastion. Still has his tank form, by the way. Sitting up here in recon mode. I'm sure he's going to be trying to set up at some point. It's very important. Gets dove on by the Winston. Takes a few points of damage, but AZK comes and sticks him. Very easy sticky target. He's very large, but still, he only had 200 health, and he was sitting in there. So Grim Reality wasn't looking like he was in the best of shapes. We have a little bit of a fight, but we're going to see that Team Liquid comes up on top. So skipping forward once again to the next team fight, our good old Bastion is back, healed up a little bit, tank mode, nano tank mode at that, trying to kill the Winston, finally gets him after quite a few shots, also his barrier as well, but that's going to be it. It's going to expire with only 1 kill off a nano tank, so that was a bit disappointing. One scenario doesn't take away from the strength of the ult by any means, but it kind of demonstrates how it can just sort of not work sometimes. You didn't see that Team Liquid did any particular amazing thing to counter it. It just sort of didn't do anything. It killed a single Winston, which is pretty good, but it was nano tank. And you're going to see that he doesn't really like the Bastion. Grim Reality swaps off to the Soldier immediately. So that's it. There's no more Bastion in this entire match. It was just these few minutes that I showed you. And I'd say it worked out about average, if not maybe even a bit below average. So let's go into the next one. Just some additional info. The next map in that series, Team Liquid versus Luminosity, was on Temple of Anubis, where there was no Bastion play throughout the entire thing. Now, here we're on Oasis, and this is going to be Renegades versus Luminosity. Notice that it is 1-1, so we've already played 2 rounds without any Bastion. This is the first time we're going to see Bastion, and this is going to be played by Mangachu. So Bastion, pretty strong in this map. Let's see what he does. We're going to go into turret form in the center area. So strong. And Luminosity looking like they might not have a way to deal with this, as their Roadhog goes down very early, but a very nice sleep from the side. You can see they're using this sort of low mobility and flanking around very well. And a sleep goes off in the Bastion, which of course puts him to recon mode, and in recon mode he's very killable. And indeed he is killed. I think the Bastion's position there was very strong. I think that was a fight that probably Renegades should have won with the Bastion. The problem being that I don't think that they guarded their flanks well enough. I think they had the tools, but they didn't quite make it happen. But still, we're pushing in. We have a very high energy Zarya taking out the Reinhardt, who had nano boost, and this point is going to go right immediately back to Renegades. And I think the Bastion certainly did have a part to play. He made their initial position quite strong. I think again, though, you have to ask yourself, is that something that pre-buff Bastion couldn't do? I think the pre-buff Bastion would probably do about the same thing, because remember, the buffs affected his survivability in turret mode. He was killed in recon mode, so that wasn't a difference. His setup time got buffed, of course. He sets up half a second earlier, so they were able to get that position a little, slightly faster than they would have before the buff, but also his DPS in turret form got significantly reduced. Remember, he can't headshot, and his spread was increased by 50%, so that's way less DPS than before. So just interesting to think about. Could pre-buff Bastion have done the same thing? I think in that particular case, he definitely could have. Moving on, though, we're about to get into another fight. We have a very early pick onto Luminosity's Reinhardt, but Ube goes crazy on Tracer, gets 2. Now, actually, tank mode comes out. We see there it is, tank mode. And despite the damage reduction with no healing, he goes down pretty quickly. It's about equal. Without healing, the current tank mode is about equal to the old tank mode. Because remember, the old tank mode, you got armor. So in that case, the new Bastion really had, again, no real advantage over the old Bastion. You can see how the buffs are a little bit more situational than they first appear on paper. A lot of these things we're seeing are like, well, the old Bastion could have done that, or that's pretty much the same as the old Bastion would have done. There are certain situational differences. We're going to see actually, bam, Soldier takes out the Bastion rather again from the side. But here we have a really big res from Renegade's Mercy. So let's see how this goes. Here is where the new buff actually does make a difference, because we're going to see Bastion can get into his turret form quite a bit faster. Plus, he's quite a bit tankier. So look, with Nano Boost, he can survive all this stuff. I don't think that Luminosity had any business really trying to plow into that when they had no way to get through the Reinhardt shield. But regardless, of course, we're going to see the Bastion has huge value there. And the new buffs did matter, because he was able to get into turret form quicker and was able to let him survive through a bunch of damage, even though there wasn't too much healing coming his way. But overall, we're going to end it there. We're not going to go through the entire round. I think that Bastion was pretty fair so far in this round. He's been beaten quite a few times, killed quite a few times, and he's also shown a few strengths. So that was kind of the goal, to make him stronger, but he still certainly has some weaknesses. So I guess we'll we'll finish off this fight, because it would be a shame to just not show the rest of the fight, right? But we have 2 kills come out from Bastion. He does have the tank mode remaining, and then Luminosity is going to retreat. So if you want to watch the rest, then go check it out on Twitch. That is the Overwatch Carbon Series tournament. Big shout out to them for putting on such a great tournament. Alright, so we're going to just show one more. This is the same Renegades versus Luminosity set. There's also a Renegades versus Hammers Esports set, but there was no Bastion play in the entire 1-hour match. So that's something interesting to note. And also, there wasn't much Bastion play as well in this set, except for on Hollywood in particular. I think Bastion is one of Bastion's strongest maps. So here we go. We have Bastion on both sides. This is about halfway through the round so far, so we have some ults built up. We can see a real team fight. Now, note that Luminosity does have the advantage going in. They have the Graviton, and they also have tank mode on their Bastion. Alright, so there's the Graviton. Whole Hog was popped, and Whole Hog is very, very good against objects that don't move. We also see that the Earthshatter was used to knock down Mangachu, the defending Bastion, who pretty much immediately died. I don't even think that the Earthshatter was necessarily super necessary in that particular case either. So there, we didn't even see the tank Bastion. I think that both Bastions on either side did play a role. They did things, but I think it was pretty clear that still they weren't even the stars of the show. You had all of the other players doing just as much, if not more. So I don't think that the Bastions really were super mega oppressive in those particular fights. So we just have one more team fight here, and I think it's pretty funny, so we're just going to watch it, and that'll be it. Now, a little bit of spawn camping. This is a strategy that is becoming more popular. I think it's something that's interesting to try out. I think it has a lot of merits. But anyway, we see the tank mode pop for the attackers with nano. Tank mode popped with nano for the defenders, and they're just launching shells at each other. And oh man, the red Bastion eventually comes out on top. That was just so beautiful to watch. But of course, nano tank Bastion, so useful in that particular case. But the Genji blade, really, with the 3K on the Genji blade, that seems just as good almost. That was just as impactful. Of course, Bastion tank mode is not the same as Genji blade. They're both very different. Of course, the tank mode has more health, but of course, a little bit less mobile. You have the rocket jumping, which is pretty mobile. Genji has the dash, which lets him go horizontally. And yeah, the AoEs are different. So there's lots of differences, but just there we could compare the Genji blade with the Bastion tank. And when you see a Genji get a 4K, wow, that's really skillful, that's cool, that's awesome. But then you see a Bastion get a 4K and people say, oh, that's broken, that's unbelievably broken, we need to ban him from tournaments, sort of thing. So again, I'm not saying that Genji blade is exactly equal in all ways, or the same, or stronger, better, equal, or worse, or whatever to Bastion, just something to think about. But anyway, guys, I'm just going to stop it there because there's a nerf on the PTR anyway. They're nerfing Bastion down to 20% damage reduction instead of 35%. So this video is pretty much out of date the moment I published it anyway. But we're still going to be on this patch for quite a while. And instead of complaining about Bastion being OP or whatever, I think that if you look at these games, and I didn't handpick these games, guys. I just picked the most recent games from Carbon series. And this is what I got. Bastion was picked about maybe 20% of the total game time. And overall, we're seeing that he has an impact on these fights. Now, a solo Genji is not going to be able to take him out, I don't think. But he's having an impact on these fights. He's good. His buffs have buffed him in certain niche scenarios that are relevant. But, I mean, I don't know. Me watching this, it doesn't really seem like he's some sort of super, oh, this is the R8 revolver, he's annihilating the meta. I mean, the fact that he's only picked about 20% of the gameplay time that I watched is kind of telling in itself. And once again, this is not a conclusion. This is not saying Bastion is OP or Bastion is balanced or Bastion is, like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not making a statement because it's too early. It's only been a couple days. It's impossible to know. But from what I've seen so far, if Bastion is this OP monster god of doom, he's not there yet. In the future, who knows? Maybe someone will unlock the hidden secret of the Bastion meta. But right now, it's pretty tame. It's pretty normal. And I think that the community is overreacting just a little bit. And I think that a lot of people are taking things for granted, like when people say, oh, it's the Bastion meta, it's this or it's that. A lot of people, they haven't had a chance to play necessarily yet. They haven't necessarily had a chance to play Overwatch, so they're just kind of taking people's word for it and thinking, oh, Bastion's in every game. Bastion's like this menace in pro games. I heard that he was getting banned in tournaments. Wow, he must be the most OP thing ever. So I just wanted to show kind of some matches with Bastion in it. And clearly we can see there's still background footage here. He's good. He's strong. He does things. He is a player. But is he OP? Is he game-breakingly, meta-definingly broken that he has to be banned and hotfixed and stuff? Well, I'll leave that up to you guys in the comments. Be nice to each other. Don't bite. And never forget to stay positive. And have a great day. Peace out, guys.